Welcome to Keeping Up with Data. Keeping Up with Data is the podcast that keeps data enthusiasts up to speed with what is happening in the data world. We bring in the leading minds from the data industry to talk all things career, news, embarrassing stories, failures and successes. So something really important for us here at Precision Sourcing is mental health. It's something we've been focused on a lot over the last year or so, and we're lucky enough to have partnered with the Black Dog Institute. And we're going to be doing a lot of events with them this year. A lot of our events, money will be going towards them. And they're out there aiming to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. So if you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link in the bio on this podcast. And you'll be seeing a lot more information about Black Dog over the next year. All right, we are back. Season 2 of Keeping Up with Data with me, Joel Robinstein.
Me, Emily Nota.
And today we are joined by Dean Marchiori.
Hello.
Dean, welcome.
Thanks.
So we've known Dean for, nigh on nearly 10 years now. So we're pretty excited to have you on and discuss your whole day. Yeah, long time, right?
It's basically how long you've been here.
It is pretty much from day one, yeah. So we've seen you go from obviously the start of your career pretty much to now managing a team and building out data science functions, eh?
Yeah, it's good to meet you 2 minutes ago for the first time.
I know, right? After 10 years. Met enough times on video. But so obviously, be good to get a bit of background on you, first of all, Dean, just for the listeners. So do you want to just tell us a bit about yourself, I guess?
Yeah, sure. So I run the data science team for Endeavour Energy. So we manage the electricity network for a lot of Greater Western Sydney and the South Coast in Illawarra. So I guess prior to that, I was kind of working in data science consulting jobs. And I started off my data career working for a big bank. So I kind of did that. I initially had this early career in finance. I was a trader. But didn't really like that. I think I wanted something analytical, but that wasn't really it for me. But got a good opportunity there, and kind of the rest is history.
So you were a trader?
Yeah. It sounds really fancy. It was kind of entry level stuff, but yeah, I worked for ANZ Bank's share trading arm, E-Trade. Nice. Yeah, so I was like putting trades on for people every day, and it was essentially a call center type of role. It was just it was really full on. High stress, kind of really exciting, but heavily sort of sales focused and wasn't kind of that analytical itch. I didn't get to scratch it. So, but a lot of good opportunities there to do other stuff in the bank and work with some really, really smart people. So yeah, that was kind of my apprenticeship.
So not as sexy as it seems on TV, the trading job sometimes.
Like Wolf of Wall Street.
It was a really cool, fun sort of culture, like a work hard, play hard, a lot of young people, a lot of young grads and stuff working. It was really good. And I guess you could, a lot of people are still in the industry and have worked their way up and are doing some pretty cool things. But for me, I wanted to kind of try something different.
Makes sense. We're hearing a lot about data stuff, as you'd call it, in trading and investments. We've been working with a few clients, and we're actually going to do some events next year around it of helping data people traverse into it, because I think a lot of the skills are very transferable now the trading world's gone quant. But it's probably a podcast for another day.
Well, there wasn't much of a data industry. Well, there probably was, but I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of opened my eyes a bit because it's such a mature space, and they've been doing it for a long time. So it's good to see people wanting to go into the industry rather than branching out from it. So
brilliant. All right, well, so to the format of what we're going to be doing. So Emily, you've been out on the COVID safe streets.
Yeah, with my mask on.
Yeah, which has been good.
Socially distanced.
Asking the public what they know about data, so we'll get to that later. We've got the best data jokes as well, so you've had a long time to prepare considering the lockdown. I'm guessing it's going to be better than last season.
For sure. Got to deliver it properly though. I'm a bit, it's going to be
Yeah, that's the tip, Dean, is the joke. It's all about the delivery, you find, so...
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I'm
honesty.
firmly in the camp of there's no funny data jokes. So
okay.
you got to win me over.
All right, well, we're going to find out later.
Tough crowd.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, well, before we do that, let's get into and get to know you a little bit more, as we always do. So a really nice, easy question to kick you off, Dean. You mentioned that you were a trader early in your career, but when did you really figure out, what this data world was? You wanted to get into it. What did that look like?
Yeah, I kind of started off doing a maths degree, right? And I was like, well, what job can I do? Obviously, it sounds silly saying that now, but I kind of grew up in a small town and was a bit naive and wasn't really, up to date with, where a corporate career could kind of take you. So I thought, finance, it's kind of interesting for me. That's kind of that nice blend of, it's kind of exciting. It changes day to day and it's kind of practical, right? So it wasn't until I started working in that career that I kind of realised that I had this kind of want to do something more sort of analytical, some kind of deeper thinking stuff. So yeah, it was working for a big bank, and I kind of got exposed to a lot of smart people doing cool things, and I kind of found a team in particular, and kind of just went, yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do. And a couple of years later, I got a job on that team.
Nice.
So it was really lucky. It was kind of like a big break, and I had a couple of people there that I learnt from that I'm really glad I met, and that kind of set my path. And then I just remember thinking, I want to do this as a career, as a job. Like this is a nice little groove for me. So it was nice I found that, because I wasn't really sure that's where I was heading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're an interesting one. So Emily, obviously you work the data science market, and you meet people coming from all walks of life into data science, as I'm sure you do as well, Dean. Are you kind of that more traditional statistics into data science kind of journey that you've had? Is that right?
Yeah, I guess so. I sort of had an interest in math and stats. So, but I'm a really practical kind of applied person. So I think that's why I kind of moved into stats over doing something more academic in maths. So yeah, that was kind of my background, and I've kind of had to learn sort of the programming and coding side enough to do my job. But the other side's right too. You get people that come from a computer science background or whatever, and then and they contribute in a different way. So yeah, that's kind of been my niche, and something that I've tried to specialize in.
What's your thoughts? Sorry, I'm jumping in here.
Well, that's the whole point. Yeah, please do.
What's your thoughts on like the data scientists coming in from that traditional, like what you would call, like everyone kind of looks out for stats, maths, versus the engineering or science background into data science? There's both sort of different angles, eh? Yeah,
you got that like Venn diagram that got made really popular a while ago, where it kind of has domain knowledge, maths and stats, and then like the computer science and engineering. And I think they're all really important. I think it's just a shame the industry's not very differentiated. Everyone's a data scientist, but I think it's actually worth calling out that there's different types, just like there's different types of doctors or different types of engineers. And I think as the field matures, maybe that'll become a little bit clearer, so you can tell if someone's a tool builder, or someone comes from a domain background, or if someone comes from a math stats background, they can bring something different to the team. So yeah, it's all good, and the discipline's only called what it is, and it's only developed into what it is because of this mishmash of skills. So the old crusty kind of statistics field, I think it needed a revamp, and it needed to be more modernised. So I'm glad it has, but I think we still need to mature a bit as a field, and people be able to I don't know if it's accreditations or some kind of better labelling, so people can match the opportunities a bit better. And you must see this every day with people from different backgrounds and wanting roles, but it takes a lot of work to connect those two things together, and often there's no connection that can be made.
Well, I think we're at the point now. So we obviously, when I started recruitment, we spoke about this before. I just did all of data, then we split it into BI and analytics, and then we split that into BI, analytics, and data science. And now you can do BI, data analytics, data science, data engineering, data governance. I've got a feeling that data science is going to split itself soon, and there'll be different types of data science. Well, there already are, but defined types of data scientists, the machine learning data scientists, the predictive data scientists, the programming data scientists. So it'll be interesting to see how the market develops.
I feel like that, like what you said about labeling or better labeling, is like super, super interesting, because everyone's called a data scientist, like you say. So it's kind of like someone
needs everyone. We did the question today, didn't we? So
what was the question? Yeah, because I got views on this, so yeah.
Well, we did. We asked people on the street with Emily. We said, how many data scientists do you think there are in Australia? And people were throwing out some crazy numbers, which like 1 million one person said, which was crazy. So how many do you think there are that call themselves this on LinkedIn? So obviously we'll extrapolate it out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. In Australia, 5,000.
Just 2,500.
Yeah, right.
So, and we thought it would be more because there was this
I thought that was a low number. 5,
yeah, right, exactly, yeah. So we thought, because everyone went and called themselves a data scientist for many years. Yeah. We think the market might have changed, where people have gone, I don't want to call myself a data scientist.
Yeah,
I actually am.
I hate it. I don't like the word. But it is good in a way, but it is a bit of a cringe, because I maybe I'm old enough that I was doing it before it was cool, before it was called that, right?
Bit of bitterness in there.
So I was called an analyst, right? Everyone was, you're an analyst, senior analyst, right? And then this data science term came about, and all of a sudden, that term analyst became almost like a junior kind of thing. Yeah. So to maintain relevance in the industry, you had to almost rebrand yourself. Yeah. So I found myself just calling myself that on LinkedIn. I don't think I've ever been officially called a data scientist in any job with any company I've ever had. it's always been something else, data insights analyst or something. You know, companies have this old-fashioned way of hiring, and it's not up to them to be on the cutting edge. They're hiring, they want to move into this space. They don't have as much context as we do. So, yeah, it kind of got thrust upon a lot of people, I think, and they had to rebrand and adapt. But I think it's fine, you know, like it's a sales term, and we use it to sell what we're offering, which is good quality data analytics. So, you know, that's what I offer, and if I have to make it sound sexy, then that's fine, I will.
Do you think that companies did it that way because they got scared if they brand a job description data scientist, they're suddenly going to have to pay 40-50% more than they think, so they call them an analyst internally so they can try and get someone cheaper, or is it just they didn't know? I don't
think they know. You know, I've seen a lot of roles where it's been, you know, data analyst, customer insights analyst, and I've like rang up and gone, oh wow, I really, you know, your company's great, I'd really like to work there, but you know, this role, like, what's it all about? And then you talk to them and you go, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want. And it sounds like you might have had someone in that role doing basic kind of analytics, pivot tables, spreadsheets. You want to move it kind of a step forward. You get some professor, some mad scientist.
Right, well, that's it, right?
It's scary, it's new, no one really knows it, and it's, you know, some poor hiring manager that has to do it for the first time. Yeah. You know, I think that's where the value that obviously you add is doing that connectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you strike gold when you find a data scientist in quotation marks that doesn't just do the like building and executing of models, algorithms, and then, like you say, is that pretty much the insights piece, right? Connect to the business. But like, you're an anomaly because obviously you are that. But like, lots of people, I suppose, look for that. You know, unicorn.
Yeah, I think it might be, you know, a limiting factor for people looking for jobs, you know, just wanting to be a data scientist and just searching for that and not realising that, well, you know, like for the first 5 years of your career, you're probably an analyst, you're not probably a data scientist.
Correct.
When you rebaseline all the people in that call themselves whatever they want to call themselves. So.
Yeah, I think the amount of times over the years where we've said to the person, look, don't worry about the job title in this job description, read the
100%.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
And you're right, and that's where a lot of junior people go wrong. They're just focused on this job title, and every time Emily and I speak to any of the unis or the students or whatever, we say, look, here's just 12 different types of roles that you could have, but you could be doing similar things in all of them. Yeah. So don't get too fixated on this buzzword title, which leads us nicely to the next topic of conversation is buzzwords. You've already said you hate the words data science.
Is that controversial? Yeah. No, I don't. Well, I don't hate it, but yeah, I think it's a bit of a buzz term, and that's fine. I'll piggyback on that if it helps.
What other buzz terms do you
AI.
hate? You hate AI?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, because people call things AI that isn't actually AI.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, right? It's making kind of, you know, advanced analytics popular. Like AI's been around for a long time, and statisticians have been using neural nets for a long time as well. I think there's this crossover with like general artificial intelligence and kind of this notion of like sentience and Terminator that people kind of,
we always get to Terminator on this podcast.
Yeah, there's this sensationalized aspect of it which I think doesn't help, or it makes it seem somewhat evil or nefarious or whatever. But so I don't like it. I kind of like machine learning. That's kind of a buzz term that I do like, because I think it is kind of, it's a really nice way of explaining what predictive modeling does. But AI sounds a bit too like Hollywood, so I don't like it.
Well, on that point, that's a really good segue into the fact that the question to the streets today was, what is machine learning?
Yeah, right.
So I think we should probably go to that now and find out. So I think we've got 5 people who responded to this one.
And what are these, just randoms on the street?
Randoms.
Yep.
Wow.
Some of them may know about data, some of them may not. How many out of 5 do you think are going to get close to the answer of what is machine learning?
Machine learning? You're just walking around here, you got sampling bias, you're in the city,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, we tried to stick in the building because the COVID stuff, and people still don't want microphones shoved in their face.
I reckon you might get 2 or 3 out of 5.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
optimistic. Yeah.
All right, well, let's find out.
What is machine learning?
I don't know.
Go, take a stab.
I think it probably recording of what they're doing, I think.
Machine learning is where technology can predict and forecast how people think and their actions and what they might do based on previous data.
Learning via a machine. Bloody hell, like Terminator, innit, or something like that, where they... Yeah, I don't know.
it's where the software or the thing learns the more times it does the thing.
When the computer learns stuff.
It's when you use your hands to learn.
Machine learning is learning as a machine.
Like when something repeats all the time, like some patterns.
Machine learning is where you put into a system a load of data, and the machine or the system develops that data into something useful and continuously changes.
It's like AI, where you know it learns.
Right, okay, so there's more than 5. I think we had 9 or something there. I scored that around a 2.5 at best. Dean, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it wasn't much good, was it? No data analysts in that survey, I hope.
No, yeah, you'd hope not,
No,
wouldn't
God,
you?
no.
But it was interesting, a lot of them said machines that learn, which was not great. But I think a lot of people were kind of this kind of feedback loop. You kind of feed more in and you get more out.
Yeah.
I think that's getting kind of close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the guy, the Geordie fellow, who's like, the thing that learns as it learns more and it does the thing more or something that he said. I think that was
Someone
pretty
who
good.
said something like, the thing you learn with your hands just does
Oh,
not
yeah,
make
not sure about
any
that
sense.
one, yeah. It was actually a lot worse than I expected. I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest, because it's kind of
me
in the
too.
name, right?
Yeah.
Even if someone just said, well, it's a machine that learns over time, I would have been like, well, that's closer than what half of them said.
Yeah.
But maybe we shouldn't judge, because I guess if I got asked a question about something I didn't know, I probably wouldn't know either. So
Well, you'd know about this.
that's
Yeah.
that's because I work in data.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So a question that we do every podcast, which I personally really like, one of my favourite Reddit threads is explain like I'm 5. So I'm going to get you to do that, Dean. You've got to imagine that you sat around a dinner table with your 5-year-old, let's say nephew, and then they go, Dean, what do you actually do?
Yeah, well,
What
I got
would
a
you say?
5-year-old son. Well, he's 6 now, but so I know what he thinks I do because
Okay.
I ask him sometimes.
Okay,
so
so-
I want to make sure he doesn't misrepresent me in class when they go around and say, "What does your mummy or daddy do?" But it's interesting, I asked him, and he's, I work for an energy utility, and he said, "Oh, you go and look at power lines and you make sure they're safe." And I was like, "No, that's not." But I said, "Yeah, I kind of do that occasionally, right?" But I thought that was really interesting. It wasn't how I do my work or what I do, but it was kind of the why. They kind of interestingly, the kids understand the why. Like, what's your purpose? Like, what if I explained to him that I'd sit on a computer all day or analyze data? That kind of would go over a 5-year-old's head, I think. Which I think is a nice insight to focus on the why do you do something.
Yeah,
Is to
okay.
go and keep the power lines safe, or stop bad guys, or like whatever you're doing.
Nice.
If you're in fraud or if you're in, I think focusing on the why is a nice way to explain not what you do, but maybe people want to know why you do it.
Do you think that gets
Yeah.
missed?
Yeah,
A
totally.
lot. Everyone says, oh, I do this, I do that, I do this. But you've literally put it in a 5-year-old's brain. Keep the power
They don't
lines
care what
working.
you do; they care
Yeah.
why you do it. I think it's a Simon Sinek thing. It's one
Yeah.
of those like popular leadership
Yeah.
things, and it's like, yeah, that actually makes sense when you break it down to, no one cares like how you do your job, and maybe people care what you do, but everything you do in life you do for a reason, right? There's some purpose behind it. So I think it's good to sometimes reframe it like that. So
I think you'd agree, Emily, that we speak to a lot of candidates, people, and that's the piece that always gets missed. We're like,
Yeah.
tell us about your career, tell us about what you do. That would never be the answer we'd get, ever.
But that's also like in interviews, I feel like either the client's like, or you might be interviewing, you're like, I'm looking for, the outcome, the why behind the graph or whatever it is that's the visualization. And then everyone misses it all the time. They don't say why, they just say what's on the graph or the model or whatever. So it's like, that's what's missed a lot.
I use this all the time internally, and if I talk to like an executive level person in my org, I say, I need you to tell me why we're doing this. Then I need my boss to tell me what to do, and then you need to go away and let me figure out how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I need that what, that why, what, how.
Yeah.
But then like I need to do that when I'm explaining stuff to other people as well, I think. I need to focus on explaining why we're doing something, then what we did, and then if they want to know how we did it, we can go into it. But so often you start with like, here's how we did it. Here's the smart thing we did. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, what's the, so what,
Yeah.
So obviously you manage a team, and is that something that you have to work on with your team? Do they even care about the why sometimes? Do you almost have to pull it out of them, or are they more bothered about the how?
I think getting them in the door and hiring them is all about the why.
Yeah, okay.
100%. Once they're there on board, I think you can kind of assume that, yeah, you know, their values are aligned with our values. Then they can focus on how to deliver what we tell them to.
Okay.
As long as you can kind of show them that, you know, what they're doing is going to feed up to that purpose that the company has. But it was a huge thing recruiting recently was getting people to leave, you know, top universities with the best facilities to come work for a greenfields analytics setup. It needed to be around the purpose. People wanted to make a difference to the community. They wanted to do some sort of public good. They wanted to, you know, to connect with the company's why. So I think it's not so much the day-to-day, but it's getting the right people in the door. I think that's really important to sell that on. And I know even when we were talking earlier, it was all about, look, on paper, this is not going to look as cool as a job at Google, right? And not a lot of analytics jobs are. But if you actually try and find something that aligns with your values or your own purpose around what you want to do, that why, then I think that's the key to being happy in your job. And I know that I didn't think about that at the start of my career. I just wanted the technical challenge. I'd work anywhere. I didn't care. But now more and more, I'm seeking something that has more of an impact. You know, I'm making more of a contribution to where I want to contribute.
Totally. We've had lots of processes recently where we've been working with like people with carbon emissions or to do with carbon emissions, like startups and, I don't know, giving back to society. And it's just like the hugest selling point that you can give to anyone on the market at the moment.
Especially younger people.
Yeah.
You know, mid-20s, like you say, this is a project where you're trying to get carbon neutral farming by 2030.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That is cool. But, you know, you don't need to be curing cancer, like every day. Like I work for a big bank and people are like, oh, that's evil, you know, big bank, big pharma or whatever. But it's like, well, actually, everyone I worked with was solely focused on helping customers grow their wealth and have a happy retirement, provide for their kids. And you actually, if you can find a team that actually, you know, forget the perception, actually find out what their values are and does that align with what you want to do, and are you happy doing that? Is that you want to be part of that machine? And if it is, then go for it. Doesn't matter what it is, but just make sure you have some alignment. And that's not always easy. You can't always pick and choose maybe early in your career, but I think you should definitely bear that in mind. And I think if you're building out teams, that's the kind of the tool you want to use to attract the right people.
Yeah, definitely. So your big hiring tip of the day is go through the why in that interview process so that you don't then have to worry about it once they've started, because you know that you're on the same page.
Correct. Yep.
Good. I like that.
Hire for why. Yeah.
Hire for the why. Okay, brilliant. All right. We're talking about recruiting. We always love funny stories about ourselves and other recruiters. The internet sure does. So let's do it. What is the funniest sales pitch that you've ever had from a recruiter?
I don't get that many. I don't know why. But it was fun, but there is one that comes to mind, and it was with you.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
Oh, this is really poignant, but it was funny. It was funny because of like something silly I did, I think, and it's exactly related to what we're just talking about.
Okay.
It was like much earlier in my career. It might have been when we first connected, and I remember I was looking for another role, and I wanted to branch out of what I was doing, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And you know that call when you get a client on the line and you want to learn about what they want. You want to be able to match them to like their dream role, right? Yeah. And I swear it was you. It was definitely Precision. It might have been someone else. But they said, "Oh, so what kind of role do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, a role with data. You know, I want to do data analytics."
Said that, yeah.
And they go, yeah, cool. But like, you know, what type of role? You know, and you're like, I don't know, just anything where I get to do it. And I think after a while, you might have just like. You didn't lose your temper, but you were kind of like, look, dude, this is not working, okay? You need to actually give me something here. Otherwise, there's no point me trying to help you. And I was like, all right, well, let me go back to the drawing board and actually think about it.
Yeah, good.
But it was actually, but it was a call out. I was like, oh yeah, like I didn't think about that, like where I just wanted anything, you know? I was so hungry. I just wanted the technical challenge. I was like, I don't care where I work. I just want to work doing this and that, and maybe using these tools.
How annoying that might be as a hiring manager if you got.
Yeah,
right? You're just like, oh my
I'd
God,
be like,
what is
you're
this
not. Yeah, like you're not going to be committed. You're not going to be, really driven, in this role because you don't know anything about it. And how do I know you want to do it? So
it's the advice we give a lot of people, though. Is it?
Yeah.
I feel like if you felt the other person on the phone maybe not lost their temper but got a bit agitated, it probably wasn't me. I don't really remember.
No, it wasn't lost temper, but it was like
adjusted.
It was like you snapped out of this like. So tell me about. You're like, look, can I just level with you?
that
Like,
might be me
you
then,
need
Yeah.
to you need to think about this because otherwise I can't help you, right? Help me to
Correct.
help you.
Fair
you know?
play, fair play.
And I was like, oh wow. And the only reason I remember it, that was, ages ago, is because I was like, oh yeah, how silly. Like now with the benefit of hindsight, I can go, yeah, that would have been an annoying call for sure. But annoying for you, not for me.
Oh, well, there you
But
go.
beneficial for you because you could reflect.
But I don't know how, like a lot of junior people that coming through and wanting to, like early career people, I don't know how you instill in them a sense of knowing what they want. Like, I don't know how, you can't just say to someone, no, you need to go and think about what you want. So I don't know what I want yet. I need to discover that a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I guess what we tell the junior people is to ask the right questions to at least explore that, to at
Yeah.
least understand the market and the different types of roles that are available, and at least rule some out. That's kind of how we say it. Do it that way around rather, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I've said this so many times, but I often, when that discussion comes up and it's like, so what are you going to do? And they're like, oh, I just want to be in data analytics, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. So tell me, hypothetically, if a role came across your desk next week, it was everything you wanted and more, what do you think the top 3 or 4 things that would need to have in it, broadly speaking, in order for you to accept it and say, cool, resigning tomorrow, no counter offer, done. Then they're like, okay, my career progression, I want to learn about Python, and I want to do this, and this. And it's just like,
it's
set the scene.
it's that old school sales technique of going, like, what color car do you want? They go, I don't know. They go, oh, cool. But if you did know, what color would it be?
Yeah.
They go, oh, black.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
And do you know what analysts that we deal with, they dealing with hypothetical questions as an analyst for whatever reason seems to be very difficult but it hasn't happened yet. So how can I answer that? You're like, but hypothetically, and we always say to them, I guarantee you this is gonna happen. So start thinking about it now, right? Otherwise, you're just going to have a lot of pain. So you don't get a lot of calls from recruiters, which is one of the things we hear. A lot of managers do get a lot of calls from recruiters. Is it because you're not a manager on LinkedIn, do you think?
Yeah, I don't pick up my phone. Maybe they are ringing me. I get a lot of calls every day, but I don't answer them.
Maybe it's that then, yeah. Maybe that's the tip to managers.
Am I not a manager on LinkedIn?
I thought you were still just a data scientist. I thought your title was data scientist.
Maybe my byline might be much more generic than what my role is. So I don't know how like the
recruiters don't go that deep. They'll be like, oh,
you just go to the byline,
job
title. Yeah.
So maybe you found a way around it.
No one wants statisticians anymore.
No, right? It's weird, but
I'm clinging onto it for dear life.
But they actually do. They just don't think that they do.
And look, I think I've been lucky in my career in that I've managed to kind of fall ass backwards into a few nice roles. So I haven't had to go out and get on databases and go out and like prospect for too much. Like I said, I've been able to move sideways in a few roles and kind of get a leg up that way. And just a lot of I just did my own hustling, like I'd see a company in the city I wanted to work in was hiring and I kind of liked the company, but they didn't have a role I liked. So I'd ring them up and talk to the hiring manager.
So rare people would do that.
You're like a recruiter
but
for your own self.
Well, of course you have to be, right?
Yeah.
You can't expect someone to make your opportunity. It was just probably naivety as well. And I was like, hey, this role doesn't sound right, but this is what I want to do. And you go, oh, funny you mentioned that actually. Like we're looking at doing this in 6 months. Give me a call back. And the amount of times that's just turned into a job, or they've gone, oh, you wanted that manager role, yeah, but you know what, you're not quite right for it. And you kind of think, but then you look back and go, yeah, I wasn't right for it at the time. But they actually offered me this other position that manager was going to, have in his or her team, and it kind of just works out. But I think you need to kind of put yourself out there.
Brilliant. So 3 things we're going to take from this. Firstly, you show enough humility to get a knockback, but accept it. Go, you know what, maybe I wasn't quite right. There must be a reason why I'm not right. So let's keep that conversation open of maybe something that is right for me. I think a lot of people take that first knockback and go, oh, but obviously I could do that job, and rah, 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 rah. Secondly, we tell junior people all the time what you've just said there. Make your own opportunities. If you see a company you want to work for, okay, how many people are you connected to on LinkedIn that know you there? Or do you know someone who works there? Can they link you in? Send them a message saying, hey, see that you're the manager of data there. Just wanted to let you know I've had an eye on your company for ages. Really interested. Pick up the phone maybe. Go to a networking event that you see they might be speaking at. And people just sit there waiting for the world to kind of come to them. So the fact that you've actually done that, and we've got evidence that it works, is amazing.
My first kind of, when I wanted to move into finance, I was kind of just studying, working kind of roles that it wasn't my career. I picked up the phone and just rang up a stockbroking company and said, I want to come and just do some work experience there. Right? I just wanted to get a foot in the door. And then I said, I want to come back every week for one day. Then I want to come back 2 days a week. And then they just started paying me. Like, it was like nothing, right? It was literally just to get me by while I was finishing, some study. And I said, I said I'd work here for free. He's like, it's only fair. You're doing admin work. I need to be paying you, right? This is not slave labor.
Yeah, nice.
But then that kind of gave me a year or two experience in like a really, really junior role that was kind of instrumental to me getting like an interview with a bank, right? That don't want no experience. They want some kind of internship or something. And, so it's just, I don't know, it's hustle. You got to hustle, I think.
So you were that guy in the corner that was like, what does Dean do? And who pays Dean? Who actually hired Dean? How is he here?
I'm like, that Seinfeld episode where Kramer just starts working somewhere and he's just got crackers in his briefcase. I was totally that.
God, I love it.
Well, look, I need another drink. So before we do that, my favourite part of the show, the best data joke.
Oh, God.
I can't remember from season 1. I feel like it was pretty much a draw, Emily versus the guests. I think it was quite close.
Yeah, because mine was shocking. And
yeah,
this
but
is
everyone
continuing.
else's was shocking, though.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
it's
It's a competition, is it?
Yeah, well, it's guests versus Emily. That's the way it works.
I've got a British accent. It's a competition, is it?
Yeah, you really went very British there, yeah.
It's the beer.
Right, so, Dean, would you like to go first or second as the guest?
No, mine's not funny. So I'd like to hear what Emily's got first.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'm excited.
And I got a feeling you're going to let me
You
down.
will get a
because
pity laugh.
There's no
matter
good
what.
data jokes, right?
This is, it's just going to be like a...
But mine's an interesting story, but yeah, go on.
Like cringe.
Okay.
All right, cool. Mine's not a story, just so you know. So, if you think your microwave is collecting data and the TV is spying on you, that's bad enough. The vacuum has been gathering dirt on you for years.
Very good.
That's good. I like that one. I'm going to give that a real laugh.
Oh, that wasn't right.
Your delivery was
It's
terrible
half.
again, by
Sorry,
the way.
yeah.
Terrible
delivery.
I reckon that might
storytelling.
be the joke we're looking for.
Crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the
Dean.
best you can hope for is like a groan to these jokes, like a.
No, you will get a pity laugh from me unless it's terrible.
That's fine.
Or really,
it's a tough,
overtly dirty that we had once.
Yeah, I did. In desperation, when I was googling for these jokes, I found some really obscene ones. I tried a few out. And my wife said, "You cannot say that anywhere."
Yeah, I debated it on
but
those
they were actually like quite funny.
Oh, well, maybe we could do one of those.
We'll do it off air.
Okay, cool.
Okay, look, I've got something.
Okay.
So, what's the difference between a mathematician and a large pizza?
I don't know, Dean. What is the difference?
A large pizza can feed a family.
Oh.
Right? So that was told to me by a maths lecturer at uni in the mid-2000s. Right?
And look at him now.
Now it's like sexiest job of the 21st century or whatever, right?
Oh my God.
But literally that was like an impression. It was like there's no practical jobs. You got to go into finance. You got to be a hedge fund trader. If you want to like earn money, there's no maths jobs.
Like
you can be a maths lecturer. Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Now
look at you.
Now all of a sudden, well, not so much me, but just a comment on the industry itself. It kind of exploded. Like that was the inflection point. It had happened maybe a bit earlier in the US, but we're always a bit behind here. But then, you see more and more companies every day just exploding in this area. So, yeah, that was just a funny, like, bad call.
I like it. Give us one of the off-air ones. Go on.
No, I can't remember it, but I got to dip back into it. But it was bad. It's not
really?
safe for podcasting.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, we won't do
But I think that's the key to really getting funny ones.
Yeah, I agree. But on
this
the
academic
borderline.
humour is all a bit. It's just a way of someone showing off how smart they are. I think with a lot of these like Pythagoras jokes and things.
Deprecating jokes as well in academia. Right. So after that very funny interlude to the seriousness, we're going to talk about something quite important and I think really relevant for you because we've had a weird year, 2 years, lockdowns, remote working, hybrid model, all of that. So you're in Wollongong.
I live there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
I'm in the Central Coast now, so we're seeing people move out. So what have you got in place for your team? How's it work for you as someone who lives outside of Sydney but in touching distance?
Yeah. Well, so we just hired someone on the Central Coast. So I think that's, a lot of people want that lifestyle, right? And, that's certainly what I want for my family and that's where I want to live. And it's a lot of good places everywhere. But, and I think it's... different industries will probably respond in different ways. And I think some industries will have shorter memories than others from what we've learned from COVID. But for the better, where I work is have cemented in flexible working where it wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even a consideration before. No one even really knew how to use video conferencing software, but everyone got forced into using it. and really traditional industry, people that have been in their jobs 30, 40, 50 years, you know, particularly field workers and people that aren't technology workers as well. So it's just transformed our business, as I'm sure it's transformed lots. So my personal view, you know, as a manager, is to just let people do whatever they want, really. You know, I'm hiring people that are really, really smart and engaged, and they want to do well. So I just want them to go and just solve the problem. I don't care how they do it. You know, that's up to them. They can organise their life how they want, and that's what I want to do.
Brilliant. Do you have core hours or anything like that?
No.
Really?
So, but you know, you got to make deliberate steps. You know, like the organisation does want us coming in and doing face-to-face work, and I think there's a real good social benefit to that. So we do a bit of that, but there's still a lot of flexibility and working from home stuff. So we kind of get the best of both worlds now. So it's not full remote.
I like what you said there, that they can design their own day, because at the end of the day, so Emily, I think more of a morning person, like you and I hit a wall around 3 or 4. Like if
This
you
time?
can start at 7, then like and get your day done, happy day. Or some people want to work at midnight, right?
Yeah, and you know, particularly when you have young families and things, you know, there is a stress that comes with having to manage that, and it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't be stressed to drop your kids off at school. Yeah, you know, you should feel empowered to do it, and then you know, you're in such a better frame of mind when you go to do your work. So you know, it's, I think particularly for our industry, there's no reason why it can't be flexible. There's no data emergencies. There's, you know, you don't need to be on call with a pager. You know, like. Things can wait a bit. If things can wait an hour or two, you can make up some time in the evening. I think that's totally fine. And then when it's time to come together as a team, then you know, you do that, and there's real benefit in doing that as well. So yeah, you know, but I think you need to make deliberate steps. You know, I onboarded a whole team during COVID, during lockdown, where I had to ship laptops to people. You know, and they had no induction until months later. Some of them only just starting to go back to the office. So that would have failed if you didn't approach it in a certain way, and we've all been forced to do it in a very deliberate way with COVID. So you know, we have daily stand-ups. You know, we have a 9:30 meeting where everyone jumps on and we all chat to each other. We have, you know, just certain rituals and things we do to make people feel connected. And I think that's really important. You can't just say, yeah, go do your job and it's all good. You need to have not some structure, but at least some checkpoints so people can get feedback. Yeah. And you need to drive that. And it's awkward, I guess, at the start. And we had to do a lot of those awkward team building exercises. Maybe I even took a bit of inspiration from some of the stuff your team does. I know that, you know, you put on LinkedIn and other like fun team things that
we do
did.
a lot of stuff,
And,
you have to.
Yeah, and I was like, that's not my natural thing, but I had to like, well, it's my responsibility now to do that. So, you know, we played like dumb trivia games and did stuff like that, and on a Friday Arvo. And yeah, it was actually good. You know,
surprising how much it helps.
It really helps. Yeah. And you know, I think doing little things like that, it goes a long way. And having empathy as well. You know, like people have their own problems as well. So when they exacerbate that with COVID, they might have homeschooling or their own anxieties around their own health or their own family issues. So, you know, I think it's the time to be empathetic. You know, and not try and enforce too much importance around work, you know. Hire people that are motivated and people that are willing to work hard for you, and people that have aligned interests, and they'll get the work done.
I think we all know that there's a huge benefit of face-to-face contact. I think the whole world's agreed. I mean, if I have a big presentation, I'd rather do it with the people in the room. It creates different conversation. You know, people are engaged, stuff like that. And then, social events is really important. But this whole build your own day, I think, is going to be the future. And I think companies that we hear of or we talk to who aren't doing that, they miss out at the door on certain talent. So that's, what we hear most of is flexibility from candidates.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the number one driver, and then it comes back down to salary every time. But anyway.
What was it like pre-COVID? How much of that was there before COVID? It was just an expectation, right? That you're always going to have to turn up?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like there was no real like conversation about it at all, unless it was like a tech company, which was like obviously remote working. Like, you know. So it's definitely drastically changed.
Weird, isn't it? How much it's changed.
Yeah, really weird. And
positively.
Like, some companies were implementing it, and we knew some. But do you know what it was? It was usually a specific manager who was senior enough, who wanted that for themselves, who then went, well, if I want it, my team can have it, and they managed to negotiate for that. area rather than this company-wide policy that we're seeing now. It's honestly, I think people and cultures, like, I was going to say wet dream, but I'm just going to say it is literally like that. But they've been waiting for this for years. They want to implement all these cool, fun strategies that people have been writing about in blogs since 2010. Flexibility this and Uber that and Google doing this. And everyone's doing it now. So people and culture front and centre delivering these amazing policies that the whole world's needed. And the world needed COVID, unfortunately, to hear it.
Yeah, it was weird. You know, it was a leveler. So at least if you knew everyone was going to be in the office, then you could organise things and you wouldn't really discriminate. I think it's really important to be mindful now that if people are working flexibly and they're balancing their life the way they want to, then don't book the Friday sprint retrospective right where someone has prayer. You know, or don't book the the trivia session at 3:30 when someone has to pick up their kids. So you really need to be mindful of going, well, if we want flexibility, if we want this to be a new thing, because you get some benefit and you get to organise your life. You know, as a manager, I need to know what your life is about. So I'm happy to manoeuvre it around. That's my whole job, is just enablement and support. But if I don't know those things, then you're going to be frustrated, just as if you were in the office and couldn't do those things. So it is more complex, and you have to that's more of that deliberate effort you need to make. But, if you have a team that trusts you and they know that you've got their back, they'll share with you and they'll feel free to say, hey, look, can we put this at another time because I have this? And for me, I couldn't imagine turning around and saying, nah, look, we're doing it at 3 and that's that. I feel embarrassed if I book something at a time where someone said, oh, I've got this other thing. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Did you tell me about that? Please, let's change it, To have that ability to have that conversation, because there's no matter how close you are, close me and Emily are, there's still going to be conversations that we have to have as a leader and person in the team that could get a bit awkward. But having that full trust, you can kind of go through it together, debate it, but that everyone at the end of the day is everyone's best interests at heart. But I think what's important to remember is it has to go 2 ways, because, obviously you as a leader, you can only do your best. So you can book everything where you want and how you want, but there's usually going to be someone it doesn't suit, or one person who doesn't drink and it's a cocktail making class, someone who's gluten intolerant and it's a pasta making class. Right? So I think it's an understanding from the team as well that have you got a manager who's at least trying, and you can see them, because you can't please everyone 100% of the time. And I think that's a piece that people forget sometimes as well. But at least because people trust you, they can tell you. Yeah, and it's a journey as well. You got to build that trust up. And I think you got to show that trust to get it. It's that 2-way thing. So, you're never going to make progress if you don't trust the people you have working for you, and they're not going to trust you as a leader.
Well, it just builds animosity. If they can't come to you and talk to you about something, over 18 months, they'll leave. At least if they feel they're being heard, it doesn't mean you do what they say every time, but it's a help, right?
So true.
Good. I like the world that we're living in right now. Right, so something really important that we need to get back onto, and we need to publish actually, which we will do, is the book question. So the best data book. So we were meant to be releasing a repository of all the books that everyone said. Realised I haven't done that yet. But
COVID.
Yeah, exactly. We'll blame COVID again. Any books that you've read that you think people might want to read?
Yeah, one that I picked up right at the start of my career was a book called Data Smart by John Foreman, and it's interesting. There's a lot of books out there, technical books, that have kind of this snobbery of here's how you code in Python, here's how you do things in R, like technical books. But this one was here's how you do cool stuff in Excel. Assuming that most people that want to break into a career aren't experts in coding, they're probably doing stuff in Excel. But then it kind of gives you this peek, and it sort of goes into, here's some more advanced things. Here's how you might do clustering, or here's how you might build a linear model. But he steps through and shows screenshots of how to do it all in Excel using tools people are comfortable with. And then at the end goes, and if you're interested in R, here's kind of some code you might want to try. And it was this really good bridge between being like an analyst that was doing spreadsheet stuff and stuff that you might pick up, to maybe I can bridge into doing more technical work and perhaps make that next step up in my career. So, it was a good book. It stripped away that pretension. There is a pretentiousness around data scientists not using Excel for stuff because it's beneath them, and that's true to an extent. It has got legitimate problems, but people start somewhere in their careers. And I think it was a really good book, and it was kind of very really irreverent, kind of real fun kind of read as well. So yeah, Data Smart I think would be a cool book.
Nice, we'll get it in the...
It's a real old book, but it's, I think it's...
still relevant today.
Yeah, relevant for people that want to break into the industry, I think. And maybe they're a finance analyst.
I was about to say, if someone's in accounting or something
yeah,
like that.
maybe they've been,
days,
they're a VBA warrior in Excel and they want to move into Python or R or something. It was an influential book, but yeah, I think it's important.
Good.
Cool.
All right, so into some more funny stories, we hope. So obviously a lot of the time I'm guessing you're speaking to audiences that do not understand exactly what you do. Have you ever had any embarrassing or funny presentations where you've just gone, God, no one is getting what I'm saying and why am I bothering?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's good, if you can start your career off working in a fairly mature data capability, like a big team, I think that's really good because hopefully you have people around you that can catch you out and you can bounce things off. I just remember like laboring over something and thinking it was really good and then showing kind of like my manager and he was like, just remember your audience. Yeah. And that's all he had to say. And I was like, yeah, I'm being too fancy pants here or something, And it was just that, just that kind of polite, collegiate kind of nudge that I needed. I think that's really important. But, I think you always look back and kind of cringe at stuff you did a few years ago. And then even you get a few years down the track and you look back when you think you had all your stuff together and you go, oh no, even that was bad. And I'm sure I'll be looking back at stuff I'm saying now and going, oh, I had no idea what he was talking about, But I think that's good. I remember flying to Brisbane for a 1 hour meeting and getting just nothing, just getting crickets to pitch a product that we built. Yeah. So I think,
and you've revved yourself up on the plane, you're ready to go, your presentation.
How exciting is it? You're eating your muesli on the plane, you're in the lounge with your newspaper, you think you're all important.
Think you're a real business person.
Yeah, they'll be with you soon, go to the boardrooms this way, and then you give the presentation. It's like, oh, cool, thanks.
So what did you, in hindsight, what went wrong in that meeting, do you think?
Nothing, I think, but I think it's a weird duality in that you never really know whether you're being successful with data analytics. There's no kind of like what makes a good product, what makes a good data analysis. So I think on the one hand, you need to be able to listen to what a client wants and listen and not be too attached to what you've proposed, but really listen to what the need is and you pursue that. But then I also think part of the role for a good data scientist is to innovate and to show them something that maybe they haven't seen before, or to say, oh, here's a new approach we could take to this that isn't just what you want me to do. So I think both are important, but it doesn't always work, and it's hard to anticipate. If you show someone something, they go, no, we don't want that, or I don't get that. Sometimes you need to step back and go, I need to be humble here and maybe just do what they want or do something different, or maybe it's just not for them, But I think you can look back and go, well, as long as you've kind of got that perspective and you're not just blindly charging ahead with your own agenda, I think it's good to balance both. So a few wasted trips, I think, is okay, and a few kind of like silent reactions in boardrooms is not bad, because it doesn't mean you've got a bad idea.
Might not be the idea they need right then.
Yeah, but as long as you've got that self-awareness, I think,
Yeah, a lot of people miss that, and we spend a lot of our time doing that, working with clients, candidates, and getting to the core, we call it. Yeah. Yes, you might have said A, but are we really talking about B? And I think that's, as an analyst, scientist, statistician, whatever you want to brand yourself, that skill is very difficult to come by.
Yeah, and that's not failure, but it's a learning process, I think. So
do you think there's like stripping back ego stuff sometimes? Because I find sometimes I'll do like a week's worth of work. I finally crack it at the end of the week, like some project that I'm working behind the scenes, and I've got this big presentation. It's like 7 pages, and then I look at it and go, it's kind of just a sentence of work. Although, and no one needs to know the effort I've put in. I could just walk in the room and say, we need to do this. This is why. And people go, okay, cool. But because you want to show almost, I've done all this, look how great my work is. It took me so long. Do you think there's any part of that in a good data presentation?
Yeah, I think, you've got to get feedback early, I think, so you don't overinvest in that sort of stuff, because you'll quickly know whether you're barking up the wrong tree or not. I think the risk is when you invest too much time in something and you don't get enough feedback. So I think, I've got this concept of, your final delivery product, it's not my idea, it's something I'm adapting from what someone else said, but if your final product is a cake that you bake for someone, you want them to get a little slice of that cake straight away to know whether they want the whole thing. You don't want to be surprised and they go, well, it's not my birthday and I don't like strawberry, you want to be able to just give them that little slice so they get the full experience, but only a small part of it, and I think that's learning from the software world, doing that whole agile data science development and developing analytics using, modern software development life cycles, I think is a good way to try and do that. So you're not kind of, ripping the curtain off in the boardroom and, it's 6 months worth of work and you've overinvested and people don't get it. I think that's the thing you don't want to go down. It's okay if you do a sales pitch and it doesn't work, you can adapt.
Correct.
But that's really hard to do.
It's like throwing the toys out of the pram if that person doesn't like strawberry. Well, I'm never baking you a cake ever again. It's like, well, actually, that's really good to know. I could make you a chocolate cake next time. Okay, cool.
Yeah, or you get, the Homermobile or something.
Yeah.
And it's not personal, right?
Yeah,
exactly. You can't take it's like dropping something in the WhatsApp chat and no one replies and you thought it was a really funny video and then you just like
delete it.
Yeah.
Move on with your life. This message has been deleted.
Really embarrassing. Cool. Right. Dream jobs. So obviously you're in it, working for your dream company. Of course, caveat this conversation with that. I'm going to go to you first, Emily.
Whoa,
I don't know if I've asked you this yet. What would you be doing with your life, your dream job, if you could do anything that isn't recruitment, obviously?
Easy. This is just like, I'd be either Rihanna or Beyonce. Like, I'd be creative. I'd be a singer. I'd like do what Rihanna has said, Savage Fenty show. She's just like got all these amazing costumes and like, dancer, singer.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
We can join forces.
You stole it. Yeah.
It's the best.
I'm going first next time.
Okay, so Rihanna or Beyonce? I like it.
Probably Rihanna. She's a bit more edgy.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah. And you're super edgy, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Dean, what would you be doing? Dream job?
I think if I wasn't in this industry, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. You've got no data skills.
I'd be, I think, like an ocean lifeguard, like a David Hasselhoff kind of figure.
You chose the Hoff?
Yeah, the Hoff.
Baywatch.
I'd be the Hoff. Yeah, Baywatch. That'd be my life.
Not One Day Rescue, like full California.
Well, either would be okay. I think that'd be cool, just hanging out at the beach, helping people.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
All right, and also really more important stuff. We're going to go to the zombie apocalypse question.
Yeah, right.
All right, so I know you have a thought about this because most people do think about it before they come on. I'm going to come to you, MC, if you've changed any zombie people. I don't know about mine.
You should do yours.
I'll go first again.
Yeah.
Oh. I hadn't thought about it, but we did this in the office recently, and it really got you thinking about what type of skills that you need. So James in our team, James, he's a mechanic on the side, like he does his own cars.
Yeah.
Super useful, right? So you need people like that.
Yeah, in a Mad Max scenario, yeah.
Yeah, so Mad Max would be really useful. So I'm going to take him. Speaking of
that.
I'm going to
right.
straight in on that because he can fix up cars and fight people and do all that stuff. Remember that your family is locked away safe, so you don't have to include your family in it. Somebody funny, Bill Burr, I usually go for. I like Bill Burr, he's a funny guy. And then I'm going to go for I need a chef. I've decided now. I'm going to go Nigella.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
I just think, it'd be fun. She could pretend to do a show, like, when we're in the bunker or whatever, and it could be just like a fun little thing.
That's so random
Really
because you're a chef yourself. Really,
I know, but I'm not a chef of apocalypse
trade.
food.
Yeah,
but she's all about seductive chocolate cakes and things, right?
Is what I'm saying. And my wife
How
loves
useful is
her.
that going to be?
My wife loves her, so that helps.
She'll
too.
approve.
She'll approve. And we've got like very basic rations from the apocalypse, and she's going to spruce it up into what
forage.
A roach cake could be a chocolate cake.
Oh,
let's be honest.
hate cockroach.
Right, you're up.
Okay. And I'll always stick to my Schmitty from New Girl. You watch New Girl?
Yeah,
Schmidt?
right, yeah.
I just love him. I don't know why. I think it's just because he's just super flamboyant, but really hilarious, and he's also got a. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't. No, it's not that.
Okay.
I think he's quite like business minded. Like he's got that like flair to him as well as the comedy.
Business is really important.
Yeah, a lot of sales pitches going on in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
No,
you're going to be want to be on point.
Strategy. Sorry. I should say that. Recorrect. And then like someone else has said this on the podcast before, but I'm kind of interested in adding him to my team. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
God, he always comes up.
Yeah, I hear he's quite busy during zombie apocalypse
time. I was trying to
time.
get one podcast where he didn't come up, and I
mean, okay, well,
I love The Rock. All right.
Why do you love The Rock?
Because
it doesn't matter why you love The Rock.
Nice. Okay, good.
Oh no, I don't know my third one. This is going to be tough. What have I
Just
watched
shoot from the hip,
recently?
shoot from the hip.
Let's go Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
I don't know why, just
You know
because he's
why.
great.
Come on, it's Tom Hardy.
All right, I want Spock
Oh,
from
yeah,
Star
okay.
Trek.
Mm.
Yeah, I think he'll be really useful.
Yeah.
You know, he'll really get to the root of any problem. I think the other two people I want, it's three people, right?
Three
Yep.
people.
All right, well, I had a second, and then I've cheated, so my second one would be MacGyver. Do you remember MacGyver from the 90s?
Yeah, the detective-y dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can kind of like get out of any jam with just
Yeah.
the pocket knife, right? And he's a real pacifist, but a real smart kind of sciencey kind of
Yep.
guy. So I was scrabbling around for a third. So he actually, the actor that played Colonel Jack O'Neill in Stargate SG-1,
Yeah.
and I really like that character too. So
Okay.
can I have two? Can I have the same actor playing both
No,
characters?
because you're having MacGyver the character. That's how this works. It's like Emily's having Schmitty the character, not the actor.
Yeah, so I can have MacGyver and Colonel Jack O'Neill.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just won't be in the same room at the same time, presumably.
So you want their skill sets. You don't just want the actor, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Richard Dean Anderson would be no good.
I want
But
to
he can
change
play
mine.
those characters for you.
There's something about kind of 90s action adventure
Yes.
stuff I think would be really useful. And Mad Max, I guess that's kind of similar.
You gonna change?
Oh yeah, I just thought about Daniel Craig. Take Tom Hardy out.
Oh, wow.
Daniel Craig because he's Bond.
Yeah. Wait, as Bond or Daniel Craig?
As Bond.
Okay, so James Bond, Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
solid.
007.
Okay, so
Anyway.
another person who's gone for all men.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough.
Well, his wife's in the bunker.
I know,
Very
right?
faithful.
But I'm just saying, like, it's just interesting that in an apocalypse, usually everyone picks men. Right, so we're getting towards the end of the podcast, and we always ask important questions around yourself as a team leader, as a manager, and why should people work for you, and mini sales pitch for you, I guess, if anyone's listening at this point. But before we get to that, there's one question I didn't prep you on, and it's been ruminating with me over the last couple of weeks because the borders are back open. And a lot of the people that Emily and I deal with on LinkedIn are looking to move over from overseas. And they've got great skill sets, but they're just a little bit unsure about, how to sell themselves, how to package themselves up, how to compare themselves to the local market. And I think they don't necessarily, they feel that there's maybe this stigma of them being new to the country. I think compared to when I started 11 years ago, it's completely different now. It used to be they need Australian experience. Doesn't really ever come up for me anymore. Do you just have any general tips and advice for people coming over from overseas, maybe how to present themselves in either a CV, in an interview? You can go whichever direction you want with this. It just might be useful for the people who we talk to a lot.
I don't think the advice is any different to people from Australia as overseas. I think you've got to have a good CV. Doesn't mean, I think just a nice, presentable CV, put some effort. It's your billboard to the world. It's the first thing that, someone's going to sift through. So put some effort into showcasing what you're good at.
Do you have any particular style you like? Because we see obviously some very technical CVs, but it's just...
Yeah, I think if you're using Microsoft Word, you're probably doing it wrong, would be my thing. Go to Canva or Novo Resume or something, and just have one that's well structured and thought out and presentable. I think, not complex, not a lot of flashiness, I think, but just nice and clean and presentable. That doesn't read like a technical appendix.
Nice.
I think that's the key. It's a sales document. I think it's you're selling yourself. Have a portfolio. I think is important. Anyone can do this. Have a website. Or a GitHub page where you can show off something cool that you've done. Even if it's just a little toy example, people often don't have a lot of spare time. They can't do big, elaborate projects on the side. But it doesn't need to be. It just shows that you've got some kind of portfolio. If you're trying to hire a wedding photographer, you go to their website and you go, wow, amazing photos. I want them to photograph my wedding. Yeah. The same thing, wow, amazing charts. I want them to make charts in my company. Particularly because, as we mentioned at the start of our conversation, the whole industry is not very differentiated in terms of roles, but the skill sets are. So you need to show where your strengths and weaknesses are. And if you can't communicate that well, you're probably not going to get the job, or if you do get it, you're not going to like it because it's not a match for you. So you're best off showing off what you're good at and being honest and open about that. And, the best result there is that you get a good match in the role that you get.
That's really good advice.
How about pages? Any idea on how many pages it should be, in your opinion?
For a CV?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't done much stuff. I don't think I could push mine past 2. I don't think.
I haven't done much stuff.
Like, what would you put in more than, like,
I don't know.
you know, you see a lot of academic CVs that are 30, 40, 50 pages long.
No,
and I think,
stop.
you know, it depends on the type of job you're going for. If you're going for an academic job, that's fine. But, you know, what I'm talking about is an industry job where, you know, the hiring manager gets, hey, here's 10 CVs you've got to review on a Monday morning. You got to stand out somehow. And I think that's being succinct and getting to the point around what you're good at.
Succinct and achievements as well. And I think a lot of the CVs we would read, for example, would say, I developed Power BI reports. Okay, but how many? What were they for? And what was the outcome of those
Or show me
reports?
one, you know?
Yeah, or show me one, right? It's no good just... Like, I could write that I've developed a Power BI report.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean
where's the
anything,
proof?
does it, you know?
If someone includes a link, here's my personal website or portfolio in a CV, I'm always going to go to it and check it out, just from curiosity. Because I'm an expert in my field and I know when I see what I want. But if you don't show me that, how am I ever going to know? I can go to the website and go, oh, okay, that's, interesting, but that's not what we're after. Or I go to it and I go, wow, this is amazing. Look at this, look at all this cool stuff they've done. Yeah. You know, doesn't have to be over the top, but I think you need something. Like we said, you got to hustle, you got to sell yourself. You know, you're not going to get opportunities just handed to you. Definitely. I think, and it's hard when you're starting out your career. So you got to use every trick you can, I guess, to get yourself above the pack.
So that's how people sell to you. So now let's talk about the other way around, because it's important in a candidate short market, as we all know that we're in. So why should people work for you, and why should people work for your team? So it's you as the manager, and then what the team does.
Yeah, I don't know if people should work for me. I guess I hope they'd want to.
With you.
Yeah. I'd hope they'd want to. You know, I want to be in a position where I can give technical feedback. I want to be a technical leader, not just a people leader. So, you know, someone that wants good, robust, technical discussions about the work that we're doing, someone that can contribute at that level. I think that's where I'm most happiest, I think. So that can be someone new in their career, or that, some of the best days I have is just having, bouncing technical modeling questions off some of my senior hires, and we have these amazing discussions around different approaches, and we totally get each other. And I've had managers before that have been great and supportive, but I couldn't talk to them at that same level, So I think that's something that I can bring to the table. I'm not necessarily hands-on. I'm kind of hands-off. That's the whole point of hiring smart people. But I think, I can engage and understand the work and kind of nudge in the right direction or offer a new perspective. So that's what I try and bring to the table. In terms of the company, whichever company you're working at, like I said, I think it's about trying to find people that have that purpose alignment. And I think that's the most important thing. So, people that perhaps want to work for a greenfield setup might be people that have some security around where, their own abilities, and they want to challenge themselves in a new area. It's more about getting some more satisfaction and some more growth. So, but for a really mature organization, you might be seeking a nice mix. And I think one thing that I tried to be mindful of, and something that I had to learn a lot, is it's not just the individual you're hiring. Like you put out this PD and it's just like a person on a page that you want, but in reality you don't hire individuals, you hire team members. So what's more important is how people are going to work together. And that's a weird kind of simultaneous equation. When you're hiring people, you got to know if they all accept that role, how are they all going to click together? So I think that's a challenge in hiring a team. If you're hiring an individual, trying to see how they're going to slot in, and that team might be your team, or it might be how they're going to work with other teams. So, that's something I try and be mindful of, is setting someone up for success with an organisation, and not just hiring an individual for what they can do. I think that's the key to getting the most out of it, in the long run.
It's definitely what people are looking for in a leader, is that kind of trust, two-way street. So some stuff I've taken out of today's discussion that I think is really important that people maybe realise. We're coming back to certain groups, but what I heard from you was that you hustled early. You made your own luck in a way, which I think is really cool. But more importantly, you give yourself those first few years of your career to give yourself a grounding and have enough clout to then almost choose your own door that you walked through. I think so many people these days are so focused on, I need it now, I have to get to this within a year. If I'm not doing that, then I'm a failure. But you actually went, you know what, I'm just going to get all the pieces of the puzzle so that when I finally present myself to the world, they're going to go, well, obviously, look at this guy.
I think if I had a PhD in astrophysics from Harvard, I could probably just do whatever I wanted.
Well, yeah,
but
of
like
course,
the
yeah.
reality is that
Yeah.
wasn't the case with me. You know,
Yeah.
I had no choice. So, you know, and it's getting even more competitive out there now.
Yeah.
So you got to.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank
Emily,
you.
anything
It's
from
been
before we
fun.
go?
No,
It's been good.
Good.
Really enjoyed it. We've got some cool guests this season lined up. We've got some friends coming on as well. But other than that, Dean, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great.
No worries.